Hi, this is Burns Hargis with another edition of Inside OSU, and today we have a very special guest, and I expect that you may well own one of his products. I'm talking about Blake Mycoskie. We try, Blake, to bring interesting speakers to campus so our students and faculty and staff can learn and enjoy, and you're certainly one of those.
Well, thank you.
So I desperately want to call you Tom. Because this is the creator of Tom's shoes, and you've made.
Most people do call me Tom.
Well, we'll just kind of be Blakey Tom.
Okay.
So, let's kind of start. I want to get to the Tom story, which is wonderful. But in the beginning, you grew up in Arlington, Texas.
Yes.
And went to SMU as a tennis player.
Yes, sir.
Were you a good tennis player?
I was a very good tennis player.
Yes. Were you going to turn pro?
That was the goal, I think. And you know, as a child, that's all I ever wanted to do was play tennis, and I spent my entire life playing tennis. But when I was at SMU, I actually had an injury. And that actually kind of led to my first entrepreneurial venture.
Which was what?
Well, it was called a business called Easy Laundry, and it was basically a pick up and deliver laundry service for college students. And the way the idea came to me was I was on crutches after I had this leg injury to my Achilles, and I couldn't carry my laundry downstairs to the laundry facility, and it kept going higher and higher in my room. My roommate was getting a little bit annoyed, and so I looked in the yellow pages for someone to pick it up and deliver it, and there was no laundry service, so I decided to start one.
And how did you do? I mean, how did you go about that? Did you need capital to do it, or?
You know, it was funny. I mean, I think one of the big myths of entrepreneurship is it takes a huge business plan and a lot of money to start anything. But you know, a lot of the greatest businesses in the world are started for less than a couple $1,000s, and that was definitely Easy Laundry. I mean, I bought an old FedEx truck for $1,200 that I had saved money teaching tennis lessons during the summer. We put the logo on the side and started handing out flyers on campus, and you know, a year later we had 40 employees, 3 trucks, and we were operating on 4 universities.
Wow. So anyway, take us from the very birth, the absolute beginning of Tom's. Where were you, and how'd you think of it?
Well, the interesting thing is I went to Argentina for vacation. And when I was down there, I actually met a couple people in a cafe. I overheard them speaking English, so I went up and started talking to them. And they were down in Argentina too, a couple people from the US, a couple people from Europe. And they were doing volunteer work. And you know, I started asking them about, you know, what type of volunteer work, you know, where are you working? And it just turns out that they were doing a shoe drive that week. And when I asked what a shoe drive was,
what year are we in?
This is 2006, January.
2006.
Yeah, so
3 years ago.
3 years ago. So January 2006, they tell me about this shoe drive. And basically what a shoe drive is they're going around to the wealthy people in Buenos Aires, collecting slightly used shoes, and then taking them to children in the villages about 2 hours outside of the city that didn't have shoes. And when I probed them further, they explained that, you know, the kids needed shoes to go to school because it's part of the uniform. And so some of the kids, if they didn't have shoes, they weren't able to go to school. And other kids were responsible every day for getting clean water because there wasn't plumbing in these villages. They had to walk a long way to the pumps. And when I learned about the whole thing, I was very interested and impressed by their kind of passion for giving. And that was something that definitely had not been part of my life up to this point. But from an entrepreneurial standpoint, kind of from a, you know, I was curious as to what the real sustainability of it was, because, you know, if the wealthy people didn't give the shoes, then who was going to give the next kids and the volunteers?
Right.
And so I kind of challenged the idea a little bit and thought more about it. And the next day I came up with the idea of Tom's, and that was, you know, instead of having charity be responsible for these shoes, why not create a business, a for-profit business that would sustain the giving? So, you know, every time we sell a pair of shoes, we give one pair to one of these children that needs a pair. And there's this great one-to-one relationship. You can buy a pair, wear them around, $40, $45, and then a child gets a pair of shoes.
The design of the shoe is interesting. Where'd that come from?
That came really from the polo fields, because, you know, being around on the farms, those first couple of weeks, I saw all these gauchos, that they call the farmers, wearing these interesting slip-on shoes. And then, you know, even in the city, when I go into Buenos Aires, I'd see a lot of the, you know, kind of stylish girls wearing these shoes, and they were the same shoes. I like the farmers and these kind of stylish girls in the city are wearing the same shoes. So I've always been curious about, kind of patterns and trends and things like that. And so I bought a pair of them actually. And they were this great little canvas slip-on shoe. They were very lightweight. They had a rope sole. And
what were they called?
Alpargatas.
Alpargatas.
And they've been around, it turns out, hundreds of years. I mean, this wasn't like, so the shoe itself was very tested and true. So when I decided to do this kind of idea, it was, I had this idea of the kind of one-for-one model to help these kids get shoes, but I also recognized that this shoe didn't exist in the United States. And if we improved it a little bit, we could possibly sell it here.
And so what'd you do?
So we made some shoes.
Well, would you sit there and sew them yourself?
Basically, what happened was my polo teacher, his name is Alejo, I convinced him to be my translator and to help me. And so over another month, we've made about 250 pairs, literally. I mean, a lot of times ourselves, and put them in 3 duffel bags and came back to LA.
And, okay, I'm going to go ahead and reveal it now.
Okay.
Why'd you call it Tom's?
Tom's.
Your name isn't Tom.
No, and everyone wants to call me Tom.
And it stands for something, I assume.
Yes, and it actually stands for the word tomorrow. And the way that we got to that was we would sell a pair of shoes today so we could give away a pair tomorrow. And then we're going to just call them tomorrow shoes, but there's a little tag on the side of our shoes, and there's no way that word tomorrow is ever going to fit. So I just cut it to Tom's. And when we first started, we said, Tom's, shoes for tomorrow. And that was like our whole tagline. And, it kind of stuck.
So how many shoes have you given to kids as a result
so far,
of the Tom's model?
We've given away 150,000 pairs of shoes. But this year alone, by the end of December 31st, we would have given away another 300,000. So by the end of this year, it'll be almost 500,000 pairs of shoes.
Okay, we've got a School of Entrepreneurship here at Oklahoma State, which we recently started, actually. It's almost grown as fast as your Tom's.
How long has it been around?
Well, this is the first full year. It began in the fall.
Great.
What would you say to the students? And our hope is, frankly, that students all over campus access this school. I mean, not just people in business, but in fine arts, and engineering, and agriculture, everywhere. What would you tell them? What are you going to tell them tonight in a little capsule about the entrepreneurial process and how you have the I guess the guts really to act on an idea?
Sure. It's funny, I get that question a lot. And I think the main thing that I try to tell people is I don't believe in setting out to be an entrepreneur like my dad set out to be a doctor. I believe you follow your passions, and if your passion leads you to an entrepreneurial way of life, then you're going to have success, or you have a higher likelihood of success. I find that the biggest kind of disasters in business are when people kind of try to come up with an entrepreneurial idea. So it's like they sit there and they think, how can I make money? And so they're not thinking about what they're passionate about or problems in the world that need to be fixed, like I had with the laundry business. But they're thinking about making money, and so they create something where there's not really a demand or a market, and it usually flops.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
This is some story.
I'm excited. I mean, one of the things that I feel that is kind of the silver lining of this, and I was talking to one of the students earlier today about this, is that now I get to go around and tell the story and get other young people excited and thinking differently about business and philanthropy. Because if you think about it, Tom's, hopefully, is going to provide millions and millions and millions of shoes. We're going to prevent foot diseases like podoconiosis and hookworm and get more kids in school in some of these places. But the truth is, if people take what we do and apply it to other businesses, then the impact of what this little thing we started could be so much greater.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that the next Bill Gates is sitting out there every night that I talk, and hoping that they're going to think, Tom's, that thing is great. That guy's making money.
Come up
he's
with
helping
another
people,
idea.
And they come up with the next Tom's.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really excited
And the
about.
beauty is it's sustainable. You are sustaining the charity and not having to constantly go around with your hand out.
Exactly. And in this type of economy, friends of mine who do run nonprofits, they've had a very difficult time sustaining their giving programs. Right. But thankfully, ours are continuing.
Well, you caught me with this idea early on.
Yeah?
And I got proof.
Oh, yeah? What's that? Oh, he's wearing a pair of them. Nice.
That's my Tom's.
I like those.
Don't pay attention to the legs, because I've been working hard.
It looks like you've been wearing them too.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I love them.
Awesome.
They're fantastic.
Well, I appreciate it.
I really appreciate you. We'll look forward to the speech tonight.
Okay.
We'll send you a copy of this.
Great.
And you can use it on your website.
Awesome.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Great to meet you, Blake.
Okay.
Got Blake Mycoskie, Tom's inventor and creator, here on Inside OSU. See you next time.